let's discuss about the Spring Core module, or it is also known as inversion of control with respect to the Spring. I have bifurcated the Spring Core module into three different categories. First, we will learn about the introduction to the IOC in the Spring. Second is classifying the inversion of control implementation types. Third is how we can implement the inversion of control in Springs. Okay, now let's get started. Inversion of control in Spring is the most important principle or mechanism we can say in the software construction, where the developer no longer needs to create objects from the classes. That is, all the objects that the application needs will be injected, or we can say it is taken from the XML configuration file. In Spring, the XML configuration file and the POJOs are very important part, especially in the conceptual learning as well as for the practical implementation. These two are very important concepts, two important things. This also reduces the inversion of control. It helps in reducing the coupling in an application. So what exactly do we mean by coupling? Coupling is a process or a mechanism in which one module dependent on another module. Here, as per the coupling mechanism, the less the dependency of one module over the another module, the more good the application will be. That is, easier maintainability, reusability as well as the design will be good. So, in order to understand what exactly is inversion of control, let's take an example of a car driving. There are two ways. We can control our car and drive the car to the office, or we can keep a driver. That is one thing. Or we can book another taxi in which there is another driver, or a cab. If we book, there will be another driver, but the task is we will go to office. So anyway we will go to office. So the functionality is same, that is going to office, but whether we drive the car, that is we have the control over the car and go to office, or we will book for a taxi or a cab and go to office, that is inversion of control. So the mechanism is different, but the functionality will be the same. And it also helps in loose coupling. Loose coupling in the sense, the dependency of one module over the another is less, which helps in easier maintainability and higher reusability, which provides in turn the better software design. Now let's learn what exactly is Spring inversion of control. I have divided the entire thing, that is Spring Core container learning, into two different categories. That is, one is learning the Spring IOC, that is everything associated with the bean, dependency, lookup, everything that comes under the inversion of control. The second concept is learning what a bean is. So, the Spring inversion of control is one of the most important and powerful concept, or we can say the most important advantageous part of the features of Spring, where the inversion of control is the core of the Spring framework. org.spring.framework.beans and org.spring-framework.context packages form the base of the Spring IOC container. So, what exactly is happening inside the container? This container is responsible for creating the beans, wiring together the beans, configuring and managing the beans, starting from the creation till the destruction. All these things are done using the Bean Factory interface. Bean Factory interface form an important part, or the most important part of the Spring IOC container. It is implemented by using the factory design pattern. What is the factory design pattern? Factory design pattern is a pattern that is used to create and dispense beans in an IOC container. Now let's begin with the first concept, that is Spring IOC container or Spring container or Spring core container. It is one of the core of the Spring framework. So if we consider two packages, that is org.springframework.beans and org.springframework.context, these two packages form the base of the Spring IOC container. So the creation, wiring together, configuring, managing all the beans, that is starting from the creation till the destruction of the objects, is done through the Bean Factory interface. So this Bean Factory interface is used for configuring the bean. If we consider the mechanism, that is dependency injection is nothing but one of the subcategories of inversion of control. This dependency injection uses this Spring container to manage the components to make up an application. So now let's learn what exactly is bean. A bean is nothing but a Java component. We can say it as a Java component that is instantiated by the Spring IOC container. So there are two important interfaces that comes under the Spring IOC container. We can say it as a interface or we can say it as a component. But there are two main components of the interfaces. So what are those? One is the Bean Factory interface and the next is the application context interface. First, let's learn what exactly is Bean Factory interface. So, Bean Factory interface is, or we can also say, org.springframework.beans.factory.beanfactory interface. It is one of the main parts of the Spring IOC container. This interface is implemented by using the factory design pattern. We will learn what exactly is a factory design pattern in the next coming slides. So now let's only know that Bean Factory interface is used to configure the bean. Its main functionality is to configure the bean or providing the configuration framework in the Springs, which is known as the basic functionality of the Spring. So it is just providing the configuration of the bean. But there are additional functionalities that are achieved by application context interface. This is another category. It is the sub-interface of the Bean Factory interface. So what additional features are achieved here? That is internationalization, integration with the Spring's AOP. What exactly is AOP? We will learn in the next unit. That is aspect-oriented programming. We will learn what is aspect-oriented programming. It is nothing but similar to object-oriented programming. Okay? Now let's learn the additional features of this application context. First is integration with the Spring's AOP, internationalization and event propagation. So what we can generally say is add-on features, that is more enterprise-centric functionality is achieved by the Bean Factory interface. We will learn different built-in resources of these Bean Factory interface and application context interface in our next coming slides. Now let's see how exactly whatever we learned till now related to the Spring IOC container, how exactly it looks like. So, plain old Java classes or the Java file, the Spring container takes these inputs in the form of Java Pojo classes and the final result will be the ready to use application. So what is additional thing along with this? The metadata or the XML file from where we inject the objects. Developers no longer need to create the objects. We are injecting all the objects from the XML here. So metadata is nothing but the configuration details plus the Java Pojo classes together gets our application ready. Now let's understand what exactly is a bean. Now let's understand how we create a basic bean. So bean, we can imagine one thing with respect to bean. That is, it is a component is what we can think over as. Also, we can think over about it as any plain old Java object. Any Java file or a Java code, we can call it as a bean. So let's consider this example. Here what we are having, public class default message is our class name. So what's the message that I want to display here? Let's learn Spring step by step is the message I want to display. And here we are having, as I already told, it is a plain old Java object. There will be definitely the presence of setters and getters. What are these setters and getters? Set message is used to set the value of the variable string. Get is used to return it. So these are the two main methods that we use in any project. So the default message that I want to display here is let's learn Spring. Step by step is the message. So there is one setter, there is one getter method here. Okay. Here, how we define that in the XML? Let me see here. Here, these are all the namespaces associated with the bean.xml. Here, I am having the bean ID specifier called message. So, here whatever is there, this ID, string message, this message has been declared over here. ID is equal to message class. This is the complete class name. If I consider this class to be within the org.visualpath.vi.xml.default message. Default message is the name of the class that I am declaring here best. So with this particular, what we need to know is this particular line is, that is bean ID is equal to within the inverted commas message, class is equal to complete path of the default message class. This declares the default message within the bean ID. So what is bean here? It is an element. It is of the type message. What is the attribute ID of message? So attribute ID is message. Here that is what we are passing here. It is injected from this default message context.xml to this Java. Then here this is a class default message. So that class name is specified here. So when the container instantiates the bean with ID message, that is equal to initializing an object with new default message. How in Java we are using new keyword for creating a new instant initialization. Here, as soon as the container, what it does is, it initializes an object with the new default message by seeing this message over here, bean ID is equal to message. Next, let's learn about the bean factory interface, which is very important while learning Spring in elaborated way. So what exactly is bean factory interface? Org.spring framework.bean.factory.bean factory is the main part of the Spring IOC container, this package. We need to know this package. So as I already told, it uses the factory design pattern. What exactly is factory design pattern? It allows us to create and dispense beans in the IOC container, creation and dispense. Next, there are so many resources, built-in resources within this bean factory. So let's learn one by one. So one of the important thing is XML bean factory. It is a class that again implements this interface bean factory interface to access the beans. So let's look into a small code snippet here with which we can understand it very clearly. First is the bean factory interface. This is an object of this class. And new XML bean factory, we are creating a new file system resource, that is, we are extracting or reading the whatever that is present in the C drive bean.xml we are extracting that to the file system resource, and here file system resource is again a class that will create an object of this XML Bean Factory class, which is read from this file, that is C drive bean.xml. We can specify our own directory path here where our bean.xml is present. Here, what exactly is happening is, this particular bean is, how to get this bean is used by using the getBean method here. But we also need to specify Bean Factory name instance here. See, that is what is present here is my Bean Factory is an instance. So to get that bean of the type this bean, we need to use that here. Next is, these are all the built-in, most important built-in resources used in XML Bean Factory class. That is org.springframework.core.io will have byte array resource, URL resource, file system resource, input stream resource, class path resource. The purposes varies here. That is, here all these resources defines a particular resource. For the URL we are using this URL resource. For array of bytes we are using the byte array resource. For the file system we are using the file system resource. Input stream we are using the input stream resource, and the class path is used to retrieve the class path content. Next, let's go ahead with the application context interface. So it is nothing but it is the sub interface of the Bean Factory interface. As I already told, it provides an extra functionality to the Spring IOC container. Like for example, internationalization, event mechanism where notification of events happen, and portable file and resource accesses. The three most common implementation of application context that we use in each and every code or the project is class path XML application context, file system XML application context, and XML web application context. Most commonly used implementations of these things. There are many, but out of which these are the most commonly used implementations. What does class path XML application context does? It loads the context definition from an XML file located in this particular class path. So if we consider it to be test.xml, it loads the class path XML application context directly. It loads the definition from this XML file. This XML file, that is injecting, as we always use the term injecting in Spring. I can use that going further. We inject from this XML file to this context. Here file system of XML application context, it loads whatever the XML file that is present in a file system, it loads it. The same holds good for XML web application context, where whatever the file that is present within a web application, all that XML definition context will be loaded into the context here. Next, metadata. We also use the term metadata frequently in our Spring while learning Spring. That is, what is metadata? Metadata is nothing but whatever the information about a bean or a collection of beans is present within the XML file, the complete configuration information is called as metadata. It is used by the Spring IOC container to configure all the details of the Spring. Spring IOC container will contain at least one bean or nested beans. So all enclosed within this left bracket and a right bracket. Within that we are having the bean element enclosed with it and started with this bean element. So it is completely managed by the Spring IOC container, and it will have one bean at least. Okay, now let's see, even we can go that in an elaborated way. That is, what code snippet we are using for that XML metadata configuration that we are seeing here. Let's see a simple bean definition. Here it is starting with the element bean ID. This is the ID specifier within which we are giving the name of the bean or the ID of the bean. Class name is given here, and that particular bean is enclosed. Again, the second bean is open, and that will be closed. So Here we can have any number of beans here associated with that particular project. Here we are having the bean which can have one single bean or any number of beans, before which we are having the namespaces associated with the XML, bean.xml. Next, we can see the instantiation of a container. How can we instantiate? So some code details are here. That is, class path resource is equal to new class path resource beans.xml. This particular resource is passed through the XML bean factory, and that will be in the type bean factory. Next, we are also having resource. What resource is again another interface. See, these are the three ways in which we can instantiate. One is using the class path resource. Next is by using the resource or the application context. We generally use this class path XML application context. If it is in the file system, we are using the file system resource. If it is in the particular class path, we are using the class path resource. So now, as we had already bifurcated into two concepts, the learning of our Spring IOC. One is the complete learning of the Spring IOC container, which we did till now. Here we are learning about the complete bean concept. Without learning bean concept, it is very difficult to go ahead in our Spring learning methodology. So first is, what exactly is bean? We already discussed. It is a reusable software component that contains properties, setters and getter methods of a class. So that is mainly managed by the Spring IOC container. If we consider, see here within this package, com.visualsoft, we are having public class employee bean. Employee bean is a class which contains name, age and salary. So all these three are the different attributes. So here we are having the default constructor. Here it is having the argument based constructor. So here we are initializing each and every attribute, name, age and salary. So we are using the setters and getters. We are setting this and getting all the details, that is returning. So what exactly is a class? It is a fully qualified class name of the Java bean of the Java bean name, that is the class name. Next, we are having ID or name here. ID or name is nothing but it is the identifier that must be unique within the container, and the scope is one of the very important concept that comes under the beans. That is, how far it is visible and available throughout the project. That is very important. That forms the scope. If we consider this, we are having both the constructor injection and the setter injection here. We will see how it has both in our next coming slides. Scope of a bean. As we saw here, the scope is the visibility or the availability of the bean. So let's learn what exactly is the scope of a bean. Scope of a single bean definition is visibility or the availability only to the single object instance per Spring IOC container. Prototype is nothing but to any number of object instances, how far the definition is visible. Request comes under the single HTTP request definition availability. And the session is the life cycle of the HTTP session. Global session is the global HTTP session life cycle. So a small code snippet example for the scope is as follows. Bean ID is equal to test. Class name, this is the complete class name, it is com.visualpath.test. Scope is the prototype. Here, what exactly is prototype? The bean definition is available for any number of object instances. That's why we have specified prototype here. Next, so in the bean configuration file, how to use the property tag by injecting the values here. So here what comes is property name and the value. So property name is name, value is equal to ABC. So employee name, age and salary. Here we are injecting here. That is what it was told like bean configuration file. Then how bean instantiation is done?
Today let's go ahead with the remaining important concepts of the inversion of control in Spring. So, today's learning agenda is classifying the inversion of control implementation types, explaining or understanding the dependency injection, and illustration of the auto wiring concept. Let's go one by one. First is, let's classify inversion of control implementation types. What exactly is this? If we see the Spring application, the Spring application requires several beans or objects to work together as a module in order to develop a particular loosely coupled application. So, each object depends on each other for carrying out their respective functionality. So, the same can be applied to the functions as well as the beans also. So, below are the IOC implementation, that is dependency lookup and dependency injection. What exactly is dependency lookup? When an object or a bean looks for, or if it is searching for the dependent objects or beans or functions in the IOC container that is required for functioning of a particular Spring application, that is known as dependency lookup. Dependency injection. What exactly is dependency injection? When an inversion of control container passes the dependent objects or the beans to other objects or the beans, that is injecting, putting with the help of a constructor, or it could be a factory method, or it could be through the properties within the Spring application, then it is known as dependency injection. So first let's have a complete look at dependency lookup. So in the Spring application, what happens? If we write a piece of code, that code will be dependent definitely on some other class or an object or some other module, functioning module. So if we debug or try to modify the one part of the module, then it depends upon the other code of the another module. So in order to overcome this problem, we use this technique known as dependency lookup. What is happening here is, it is allowing the loose coupling scenario between the components. What exactly is loose coupling? That is, changes done to one module or a particular component in an application does not affect the functioning or the working of another module or components of the same application. So, there is enabling of the loose coupling. That is very, very important. So, what is done for this? So, we are having the implementation of the lookup component interface here. The lookup component interface will in turn have a lookup method having the bean factory argument, where the service component implements this lookup component. That is very important. In our application, to obtain the dependency between the components, what the container does, it calls up this lookup method on each component. The component then searches out its dependency by looking the bean factory interface. So this is the code snippet which clearly explains that scenario. So there is a lookup component interface here and a lookup method. That is very, very important. Next is the dependency injection. Understanding of the dependency injection. Dependency injection is a design pattern. Like any other design patterns, it is a programming design pattern which is used to reduce coupling in an application. So also dependency injection helps the developers to use or inject or to put. We can use any of these words. Inject is to use or to put directly the objects into a class which is no longer needed to be dependent on that particular class to create an object. So, since as we know the Spring framework supports loose coupling, that is one module will not be dependent on another for its proper functioning. Then, how it does is by using this dependency injection. So, the basic principle of this dependency injection is that the objects define their dependencies using a constructor argument Here, the dependency injection means that the objects should only have as many dependencies as required for the proper functioning of their particular module. In order to perform their work, there should not be any issues. So, that is minimum dependency it should be having, not the maximum number of dependencies. So we are having three approaches to follow this procedure. One is constructor dependency injection, setter dependency injection, and third is auto wiring. What is constructor dependency injection? Here it is a type of dependency injection in which we pass an object's dependencies to its constructor. Or in other words, what we can say is dependencies are supplied as an object through the object's own constructor. See, if we are having this car service interface, where the car's speed IMPL implements this car service interface. So it has a constructor car speed. Here there is another interface called public interface car DAO. So this reference for this interface is an argument for this car speed IMPL constructor. So a constructor, through its own constructor, we are passing the dependencies, objects dependencies. So this thing is defined in the configuration file as well. We are having com.visualpath.car speed IMPL, where the local constructor car DAO will be a constructor argument. So the car service bean is configured as the constructor injection using the car argument constructor tag, which takes car DAO as the constructor argument to manage the instance of the car service. That is very important. Next is the setter dependency injection. This is a type of dependency injection in which we inject the dependency object through a setter method. For example, when a class is defined with a setter method, say set AAA method, where the AAA is the property of that particular class, set employee, set food storage, get food storage, anything of that sort. So that is known as the setter method of the class. Through that, the dependency injection is set. So the setter method injects the values from the bean configuration file here. For example, we are having public class food storage in a food store, where the main function will have some variable called quantity of the food, set quantity, and the set sale. Set sale, both are two methods inside it. So what is happening in the bean configuration file? We are having the food store as well as the path of the food store, and the property name is the quantity and its value defined here. So through the setter injection, we are injecting or using the value objects values. Next is the usage of set, map and list. First, let's understand what are these three things. These three things are the collection objects. So in the Spring IOC container, what happens? Bean can also access the collection of objects. Spring framework, what it does, it allows developer to inject a collection of objects in a bean by using the Java's collection framework. We can use any of these, set, list or map, based on our representation of collection of objects, in order to inject these collection of objects. How is list used? In the bean config file, if we name the list as my list, it will be within this list, and we also use the iterator in the main class to display and access the next item. That is, iterator it is equal to map.keyset.iterator has next. We will use while has next, access the next item and displaying it. Next concept is the auto wiring. What exactly is auto wiring? We just now learned about the constructor injection and the setter injection. So we usually use either of these two injection, but the Spring framework provides another way of wiring the bean's properties by setting the auto wire attribute of the bean element. Wiring bean's properties using this auto wiring attribute, it helps us in reducing or eliminating the need of the specification of the properties or the constructor arguments. Auto wiring is wiring of the bean's properties without using the constructor or setter injection. That is, it is third way of wiring the bean's properties. So within the bean element, how it is done? By setting the auto wire attribute. There is a clear attribute known as auto wire. So wiring this bean's properties using this auto wiring attribute, it helps us in reducing or eliminating the need of specifying the properties of the constructor arguments. There are types of auto wiring. One is by name, by type, by constructor, and auto detect. How it is defined within the configuration file? If it is by name, bean ID is equal to by name, auto wire is by name, class path, com.visualpath. This bean. So for by type, it will be same. By type, auto wire is equal to by type. By constructor, it is constructor, auto wire is constructor, auto detect is auto wire is auto detect. So let's learn one by one what exactly is by name. By name is used to auto wire a bean property by property name. When this type of auto wiring is here, when this type of auto wiring is used, the container looks for the bean name exactly mentioned with the same name as that of the property, and that needs to be auto wired. For example, if we are having some bookstore method, so set bookstore method, and we are having a bookstore property in that, the Spring framework looks for the bean definition named bookstore and uses that set property, set bookstore there. So by type, this is used to auto wire a bean where there is exactly one bean of the property type. If there is more than one bean matches with this auto wiring bean, then an exception will be thrown. So if there is no bean that matches with this auto wiring bean, then that by type will not be set. An exception is thrown. Constructor. So this auto wire constructor means if there is no bean that matches with the constructor argument, then there is some exception called unsatisfied dependency exception will be thrown. Otherwise, it will match the parameters of one of the constructors bean. Next is the auto detect. Here it is used either as a constructor or by type of auto wiring. By default, if a default constructor is found, that will be the type of the auto wiring that is being used. Otherwise, by type will be applied. Otherwise, by type, this by type part will be applied instead of auto detect. If it is automatically able to detect, that will be used. Otherwise, by type will be used. That is of that particular bean property type. Otherwise, a fatal exception will be thrown.
Hello everyone, myself Nagashri Arye, and today we are learning about annotation support in Springs. So now let's look at the agenda. First thing is introduction to annotations, Spring annotation support, and the Spring Java config annotations. First, let's begin with the introduction to annotations. Basically, let's know what exactly is an annotation. Annotation is basically data, the metadata of a particular program or the program that we are writing, or in other words, the code about that particular source code. Spring Framework, it started using annotations post 2.5 release version, 2.5 version. After that, it started using annotation. Before that, there were no annotations being used. So basically, these annotations provide context or the why exactly the declaration exists, the context in the declaration. So what was happening prior to annotations? If we know on that, the entire Spring Framework behavior was largely controlled through XML configuration. Before the usage or prior the usage of annotations, the entire behavior of the Spring Framework was controlled through the XML configuration. So, but today what we are doing is we are using the annotation which helps us in providing tremendous capabilities on how we configure the behavior of the Spring framework. It will be in control actually, and it also provides the metadata about that program. These annotations are processed or parsed by the compilers, annotation processing tools, and also it is executed basically at the runtime. So, also annotations have been introduced in JDK 1.5. It helps the programmers to specify the information about the code at the source code level itself. How we can imagine the annotation is, we can imagine it as a documentation assistance. For example, if we are having @override. @override, what it does, it helps us to know that we are overriding a particular method from the base class. That is what @override does. So it is just like a documentation assistance. If we are having assistance, right? Similar to that. Also, if we consider @web service, what we can imagine it, what @web service says is that particular annotation. If we write @web service, it means that we are providing it to generate that particular class in order to expose that class as a web service. We are saying that it is a web service. We are exposing it as a web service. So that is what @web service does. Also, if we are having some example like @EJB, what it does, we are telling that we are providing a documentation assistance. That is, that particular class is exposed as an enterprise Java bean, or it's by the container needs to understand that it is an enterprise Java bean or an EJB, but not a regular Pojo class. We are saying that, that's it. It provides a documentation assistance. So that is what. So how it is helpful? It is basically used in rapid application development. That is, when we are specifying the information about the code in the XML configuration file, that what we were doing previously. So here, rather than doing that in XML configuration file, we specify the annotation here. We are using @web service, @EJB, @override, like that. So what happens is, we need to note here that our annotation configuration will be overwritten with the XML configuration. If the XML configuration also has the configuration and the same annotation configuration is also provided in the annotation, this annotation configuration will be overwritten. Okay, next. Let's understand why was the annotation introduced. See, what it was happening is, the developers always used to write each and every configuration related stuff in the XML file, and usage of lot of angle brackets were happening. So it used to be cumbersome. Always wiring of these beans in the XML configuration file, it used to be a cumbersome task, and also it was like confusing. So also what used to happen is, the Spring framework, it behaved in a rapid way, a good way, when we started using the annotation driven approach. So hence today we are using the annotations, which helps us in rapid application development, as well as it provides us the tremendous capabilities on how we configure the behaviors of the Spring framework. Next is how the Spring provides the annotation support. Spring version 2 had a very little support for annotation, we already discussed. Post 2.5 version release, annotations were supported to provide various development aspect configurations. So let's see the first annotation, that is @required. This @required annotation is basically applied to the bean setter methods to know whether the particular property is set with a value or not. In other words, we can know that it specifies that a particular property must be injected or else the configuration will fail. See, for example, this is an example. Here it's an employee bean extends the abstract factory bean. So here we are setting the designation here, designation of the employee. So here what at required means whether it is a mandatory, the name itself suggests here. At required means whether that particular annotation is mandatory or not. That is what it specifies. That is whether that particular value, whether there is a restriction on it. At required is it provides a kind of restriction that on a certain property whether we need that object or not, the value for that object or not. A particular property has been set with the value or not. So that is a kind of dependency check. So at required on a setter level, see, setter level means this is the set designation. We can have any method here based on our requirement. So simply using this at required annotation here, it doesn't mean that there is a enforcement of the property checking. We also need this required annotation bean post processor. This we need to have in the configuration file. This is a class basically. We need to have this class in the configuration file so that we can then have the bean id employee bean com.visualpath.employee bean, property name is designation, value is SSC, senior software engineer or whatever. So we need to have this class as well. We need to register. This class registration is a must. So not only at required property we need to have, along with that we also need to have this required annotation bean post processor within the bean within the XML file. That is also very, very important, this declaration. So we also need to remember the method required annotation bean post processor is very, very important. Next comes the most typically used auto wired. This annotation is used to auto wire bean on the setter method, just like at required annotation. Just like how we used annotation on at required, similar to that, even this auto wired is used on the setter method. It provides control over where and how the auto wire can be done. The approach is, we may mark an attribute of a class or a setter or a constructor or any arbitrary method for injecting the dependency object. So there are three various ways in which this auto wired can be used. It can be used on a setter method, it can also be used on an instance variable, and it can also be used on a constructor. So there are three scenarios in which this auto wired can be used. It can be used on a setter or a constructor or the property. So basically it provides a kind of control over where and how the auto wiring can be done. This can have an attribute. It has some attribute like required is equal to true. That is whether it is a mandatory or not as an argument. By default that required is always true. Let's see the examples. So if that at auto wired required is equal to true, it means that only that particular constructor where we are marking required is equal to true will be true, remaining will be false. That is how it is defined. So now let's see how the at auto wired is used here. First is at auto wired annotation on a setter method. So here on the setter level how it is used is similar to how we saw at required is used. Set order This is the setter method. Above that we are using at auto wired. Next is, if we, by default it is always true. If we want it to be false, in the bracket we need to specify required is equal to false. By default now it is always true. Next is at auto wired on an instance variable. How is auto wired is used on an instance variable? It is used on it similar to this. This is an instance variable, private. This is a payment class in which we are having an order. This field or this variable is prefixed with at auto wired. So this is very, very important. Next is at auto wired on a constructor. How is at auto wired is used on a constructor? This is a constructor payment class, and this is the payment class constructor having the order. So that is having this at auto wired configuration. By default this is true. Otherwise it will, we want it to be false, we need to specify within the brackets required is equal to false. Next comes the qualifier. This is at qualifier. There are some scenarios where we are having more than one bean of the same type. Then in the particular configuration, see, we are having at auto wire that is used to perform injection by type. It will not be able to take decision of which bean it has to be injected, and that will give rise to some ambiguity errors. So in such scenarios, to resolve that, we are using this qualifier, that is at qualifier. To resolve this, we need to perform by name, that particular name of the class we are defining here. See, for example, we are having this public class vehicle, in which this is a field, and this is at auto wired required is equal to false. This is at qualifier car2. This specifies which particular type it belongs to. If there are more than one beans of type car here, if there are more than one beans of type car, we are specifying here very neatly that it has to access the car2. See, for example, even in the application context.xml, we are specifying qualifier value is equal to car2. Here also we are specifying which car. If it is having more than one type, we are specifying here very neatly car2 is what it belongs to. Next, some more annotations we can learn. In that, one is at component. At component is nothing but it's the generic stereotype annotation to manage any component by Spring. Whereas the other annotations are specialized for that particular specific use case. But this at component is a generic stereotype component. In other words, what we can say is, if we use at component, it can be as good as generically naming at repository, at service, or at controller. But these things needs to be specified for that particular specific use case. But in general use case or a base annotation, we can specify at component. It's a generic stereotype of any Spring managed component to manage in any particular component managed by the Spring. Whereas what other annotations does, it is for that particular specialized specific use cases. But at component is a base component, base annotation. It can be used for generic stereotype use cases. So what we are having here, when we mark our class with any of these annotations, these four annotations, it is exposed as Spring beans by the container. So based on the type of the class we are trying to expose, we need to use that particular appropriate annotation. That is what we need to do here. So here what is happening? So here these at component classes are considered as the auto detection candidates when using Spring annotation based configuration or class path scanning. If any class is annotated with at component, it means that the annotation serves to demarcate the POJO as a Spring Bean. As I already told you, it demarcates it, it exposes it as a Spring Bean available for registration during that particular component scanning. So here at component, the public class bean by component, this is the method say hello. This message displays for component annotation. This is a simple class which is prefixed with at component. It exposes it as a Spring Bean. That is what we need to notice. Then these are specialized specific annotations which comes under at component itself. Those are at repository, at service and at controller. What these three does, that for that particular specific use cases it is used. So if the layers belongs to database repository or the persistence layer, we are using the repository. If it is a service layer, we are using at service. If it's a presentation layer, then we are using the at controller. So when we mark a particular class with at controller, it will be exposed as a Spring MVC controller. So MVC controller to handle form submissions, presentation layer. So if a class is annotated as service, at service, even though our current release of the Spring does not have any impact on using it, but there can be new specializations on these classes. So at service is basically the service layer. This at repository is basically the persistence layer or the database repository layer. So why we need these three separately? Because it provides better modularity. Since ours is an enterprise application, so the better we have modularity, the more the work will be neatly organized. So if we already saw at component, it means it's a component class. It has some logic, but the specific specialization of the use case role depends upon using of these three things. That is at repository, is it at repository, or is it at service, or is it at controller. So based on the specific roles, these three are used, but the basic modularity is at component. It means there is some logic in it. It's a Spring Bean, it is exposed as a Spring Bean, only that much information will be there if we are using at component. But for the specific usage, we need to have the separate layers defined separately as repository, service and controller respectively. So here this is a test bean with some module 1 business code it has. So that will be annotated with at service. If it is something related to updating a code in the DB, provide a public void update, then we are using at repository. So in the application context.xml, this is very important part. We mention it as context : component -scan base package com.annotation.star. This is very important for all the three layers. How we define the component scan and how we retrieve the bean is context.getBean of engine. This is also very important. So this is the package name of all the classes, and this is how the application context is defined. This is Spring Bean with this ID engine. If we are having engine, it is engine. If we are having motor, if we are having vehicle, whichever ID we are having based on our usages, this is present to retrieve that particular bean with this ID, engine ID. Next is configuration and at bean. This configuration on top of any class, it means that a class contains bean definition. So in other words, the class that provides one or more add bean methods, and these methods may be processed by the Spring container to generate the bean definition and the service requests for those beans at the runtime. See, for example, we are having add configuration here. This is the entire class, my public class mySpringConfig, which is having in turn the beans. So it is marked with the configuration above. It means it can have bean definitions inside. That's it. As good as that. Add configuration will have as many beans inside the class as required. Then this is the hello world app.java, which is having the main method. So in which we are defining the application context and application config. See, this is the class file mySpringConfig, which is having the configuration annotation, the class file for that, and context.getBean always retrieves that particular bean ID, hello world bean, and message displayed will be hello world. So basically it means the configuration will have the number of beans that is required. The next important annotations are, we can also call it as the Java related annotation, that is Java config annotations. Those are post construct and pre-destroy. These Java config annotations are, we mark our classes with these annotation, means we are retaining the loosely coupled feature of the Java annotations into our Spring application. That is what it means. That is, Spring also supports the Java annotations. As we know, post 2.5, that is after 3.x, we are having the Spring also supports the Java config annotations. The Spring container, what it does, it reads these Java annotations as well, and it provides like a additional behavior to our Spring classes. So if we are having some J2EE environment, it also behaves with its functionality on that particular container specification. So these two belong to that category, that is Java config annotations, post construct and pre-destroy. So these annotations were introduced in Spring 2.5 to call the bean lifecycle methods. Somewhat it is similar to init and destroy method. These post construct and pre-destroy are somewhat similar to how our init and, that is initialization, and the destroy method are called. So bean lifecycle, as we all know, it starts from initialization of a particular bean. After injecting all the dependent objects, what we do for that is we use the init method declaration or the initialization bean interface. So we can show that here. See, this is pre-destroy, this is post construct. Post construct means initialization. Once the post construct is called after the bean has been initialized and before this bean is returned to the requested object. So post the initialization we are having this post construct. And pre-destroy, why it is used, when it is used, it is called just before the bean is removed from the container, that is after the before the cleanup. Once we clean up, before that itself we destroy all the unused objects. So if we mark that particular method with post construct annotation, it means this method will be invoked by the core container after injecting the dependent objects into the bean. When we mark pre-destroy on a particular bean, pre-destroy annotation, it means this method will be invoked as part of the bean destruction process, that is cleaning up the unused resources. That's it. So these two are similar to init and the destroy method. So pre-destroy, clean up also we can say, or we can also say this will be invoked while it is removed from the container. That's it, container memory. So that is what this program does. It demonstrates the usage of add post construct and add pre destroy, which are basically the Java related annotations used. The behavior of this is used by the Spring container as well. Thank you.